It's New Year's Eve and I'm not making any resolutions this year. It's nothing new, I've not been making them since 2018. I do something else instead which works really well for me. I stopped making New Year's resolutions in 2018. I came across something else which suited me a lot better. I actually read about it years ago in a blog post by a guy called Tim Ferriss, who I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of, and that thing has been transformative in setting me up for the things I want to do in a new year. I don't know about you, but whenever I set New Year's resolutions, they were always the same type of thing: lose weight, get fit, pump iron, do whatever it is, goal type New Year's resolutions, and I never adhered to any of them for very long. I was lucky if I got to the end of January before I actually dropped them. So I ended up replacing them with this idea that I got from Tim Ferriss. It's a thing called a past year review. And in this video, I'll go into a little bit more detail about what I do and how it's helped me. Discovering past year reviews that year was very timely because in 2017, in June, my mother passed away. So in January 2018, the last thing I was in the mood for was for setting New Year's resolutions. A new way of thinking about the future was just the thing I needed. And Tim Ferriss's past review system was a perfect fit for me and my state of mind at that time, with my mother having died 6 months earlier. Over the last 5 years, I've been using Tim's system, but I've made some significant adjustments to it to make it work for me and my circumstances and the fact that I'm a man in his 60s. In this video I'll share some of those tweaks and hopefully it'll help you think about your future too in a different way. Doing a past year review has helped me focus on the things that I really enjoy doing and ditch a lot of the things that I don't like doing. The other thing that it's enabled me to do is to have some fairly significant results and make some fairly dramatic changes in my life. Since starting this process in 2018, I've had significant positive results from the dramatic changes that I made to my life. I closed a business that I didn't have any passion for. I stopped being a business coach and consultant. I moved house to a house half the size, from the countryside into the city centre. I ditched 75% of my stuff in the process. I started a fitness and diet regime which has resulted in me losing over 3 stone. Even though I've got a bit of a health problem with my gallbladder, which I've talked about in the past, overall I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. So these are some of the dramatic changes that have come about by me executing past year reviews. Not just that, I've also travelled extensively to Dubai, New York, Miami, the Caribbean and the Greek islands in that period. And I mustn't forget the one thing that's had the biggest impact on my life and hopefully on your life, which is the starting of this YouTube channel. The process of doing a past year review is really straightforward. I just grab a piece of A4 paper and I draw 2 columns. One headed went well, the other one headed didn't go well. I then go back over my Google Calendar. Now I am somebody who records a lot of things in a Google Calendar, colour-coded and all. Everything I do in life, from restaurant meals to walks with my wife to holidays, goes in that Google Calendar. So what I do is I look back over that Google Calendar from week to week and make a note of which things did I really enjoy doing and which things didn't I enjoy doing. Once that list is in place, I then do a critical 80-20 analysis of it. I look at the 20% of things that made me feel really good, things that I thoroughly enjoyed doing, and I make a note to do more of those things in the coming 12 months. I then look at the 20% of things that I really didn't enjoy doing, and I try to avoid those completely if I can, which isn't always possible. Sometimes the two things can go hand in hand. For example, I went on a trip to the coast with my wife to do some walking in the hills, and Just for a little bit of a change, we thought we'd catch a bus called the Coastliner, which goes from the end of our street and takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to get from York to a town called Whitby on the north coast. Well, that was a horrendous experience. I won't go into any detail here, but I've not been on the Coastliner since, and I've got no intention of doing so. So the Coastliner went into the bad column, things that didn't go so well. But funnily enough, when we actually got to Whitby, we had a great time. Fish and chips, walking along the coast, it was absolutely fantastic. So that was in the good column. As far as I'm concerned, as a man over 60, all I'm bothered about now is doing more of the things that I like to do and eliminating as many of the things that I don't like to do. I love coming out to Portugal, so I make sure that I get out here for 3, 4, 5, even 6 weeks of the year. I mean, look at it, it's absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you can see behind me, but I'm on the Rio Formosa today having a walk, and it's beautiful. Why would I not want to come out here more often? The other thing I love to do is to travel to London to see my son. My wife and I go every month by train. We stay overnight in London, we have a few days in London. We spend a lot of time with our son. We seek out mid-priced gastro pubs where I can have a decent pint and some really well-cooked food. So these are the sort of things that I love to do. I also love to go to Scotland, visiting the Perthshire area. We do that once a year. So these are the type of things that I enjoy doing. Then there are the things that I don't enjoy doing. Obviously the Coastliner bus to the coast of North Yorkshire, that is definitely something I won't be doing ever again. The other thing that I don't like to do is to travel on the train from York across to the Manchester area. That is a dreadful train journey. If I can avoid that, I will. Maybe sometimes I can't avoid it because we fly to Portugal occasionally from Manchester Airport, but I always look to try and fly from a different airport because I don't want to catch that train. I also don't like travelling second-class travel on the train if I can help it, but I never pay full price. I always get a cheap upgrade to first class whenever possible, so if we're travelling to London to see our son, at least we're doing it in a little bit of comfort rather than being crammed into a second-class carriage. Another thing I like to avoid, like the plague, is eating in any form of chain shop, like Greggs, for example, or Pret-a-Manger, or drinking coffee from places like Starbucks or Costa. I'll always try and seek out an independent coffee shop or an independent sandwich shop, somewhere that makes decent food and where you can get a really good cup of coffee. Any form of supermarket shopping is bottom of the list. If I can avoid going to the supermarket, I will. I absolutely hate it. But if I have to go, which I sometimes do with my wife, I'll go off-peak, and I've talked about that in other videos. But if I can stay out of supermarkets, order my food online, get it delivered, I'd rather do that any day than be battling people in the supermarket with their trolleys, pushing and barging. I don't know if I'm just getting old, but it seems to me that people are just so rude these days. The other thing is, I don't do my past year review on January the 1st. I celebrate New Year like anybody else at that time, so you'll see me popping the champagne tonight on the beach here in Portugal, but I won't be doing my past year review tomorrow. I do my past year review on the 3rd of April. That's when my year, as I call it, starts. That was the day that my dad was born. That's his birthday, so it's a significant date for me, and I always start my 365-day year on that day, and that's when I'll be doing my past year review. But if January works for you, then do it. I would advise you, do your past year review then. Review the last 365 days. Ask yourself, what went well? How many more of those type of experiences can you cram in over the next 365 days? And what went not so well that you can completely eliminate and make sure you don't do them again in the next 365 days. It'll be interesting to see how my next year pans out, because I've got a big event coming up. February the 15th, I'm having my gallbladder out, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that all goes well, so that when I start my new year, which as I've said earlier starts on the 3rd of April, I'm in better health than I've been in the last 12 months. Thank you for watching this video. All that remains for me to say now is to wish you a happy new year. I hope 2025 is a great year for you. And if you're one of my subscribers, one of my regular viewers, thank you very much for your support this year. I really appreciate it. When I posted my first video 8 months ago on my dad's birthday, I had no idea that the channel would do as well as it has done. So thank you very much for your support. I didn't for 1 minute think I'd be over 20,000 subscribers on the 31st of December, but that's where we're at. So next year I'll be recording more of the same to help you with your retirement in your years over 50, 60 and even 70. So thanks once again and Happy New Year.